for debate on Super Radio, brother.
Well, let's start with a little baseball. Our baseball team. First of all, I got to tell you, man, the American League East. We had a feeling that it was going to be, that team could come around like we talked about before the show, but right now, if you're listening, late Wednesday night, it's 2 weeks of the baseball season. You're going to see the 2-week mark tomorrow, with it being Thursday, and of course, a lot of teams that open the season on Friday, April 8th. You're going to see the 2-week mark take place on Friday, but you're seeing once again, 3 out of the 5 Major League Baseball teams in the American League East have the same record. They're right around 500. No team has taken off as of yet. I'm going to start real quick talking about my Tampa Bay Rays. They had a disappointing series in Chicago after losing 3 out of 4 to the lowly Oakland Athletics, who basically have the lowest payroll in Major League Baseball. How can you do that, Rich? How can you lose 3 out of 4? Just the way that they did it.
How can you lose 2 out of 3 against the Baltimore Orioles? Don't get me started, Trent. You're preaching to the choir.
Well, and the thing about it is, you lost one of those games on a literal walk-off walk with the bases loaded. That you talk about literally walking it off. That's basically what they did.
That's a walk-off walk.
I watched the end of that game, and I couldn't help but to laugh. I watched the very end of that game.
Oh, the worst part about that game is you can't score more than 1 run the whole game. The Yankees couldn't even score a run with the ghost runner. This game went 11 innings. You can't even score a run when a runner is gifted to you at second base against the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, that is awful.
It really is, and that's the whole thing is, you're going to have the ghost runner for a little while, at least to start off with right now, according to Major League Baseball. They were going to get rid of it, but it looks like right now they're going to keep it. Are they going to keep it for the rest of the season, I guess, Rich?
Yeah, they're going to keep it for the entire season. Obviously, they don't. Postseason is a different story. No ghost runner in the postseason, but for the regular season, we'll see the ghost runner.
Regular season, okay.
By the way, we are recording this episode of Super Radio Brothers Wednesday night, April 20th, and it ain't looking good for the Brooklyn Nets right now in Game 2 in Boston. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, one of the more disappointing regular seasons in NBA history for a couple of big-time superstars. 7th seed, so you have to face elite competition in the first round against the Boston Celtics, but you still had a lot of people out there picking the Brooklyn Nets in this series. With 2 minutes and 42 seconds left in the fourth quarter, it's Boston 105, Brooklyn 96. Brooklyn about to go down 0-2 in this series, and the way they did it, Rich, they collapsed. Brooklyn played so well in the first half of this game. They were up by 17, and all of a sudden, almost at the end of the third quarter, Boston was down 5, and then Jaylen Brown and Pritchard and of course Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have had off nights, but otherwise you've got several guys coming in and making big shots, and guys off the bench making shots. Kevin Durant had 5 fouls like early in the fourth quarter of that game. So we'll see what happens. It's very interesting recording this show live while the game is happening, because you look at the Celtics. The Celtics have shown they can come back, and you look at the crowd at TD Garden. Nobody is sitting in that place. Everybody's just jamming. Everybody's like having a good old time. And oh my God,
I thought the roof was going to blow off that place.
Speaking of which, Jason Tatum just hit a 3 to make it 108-96 with 2 minutes and 5 seconds to go. And who's come up really small in this series? Kevin Durant, man, in this game right now, 21 points. 5 assists in 40 minutes. That's not getting it done. Your KD on the road in a game like this, you got to drop 30, 35. You got to lead your team to victory.
And you look, and Brooklyn had several second chance points in the first half, and it's some even in the second half, because the Celtics didn't do a good job in the first half of boxing out. Brooklyn had a chance to get offensive rebounds. If Irving were to miss a shot, you'd have several guys kind of picking up and doing the kick out for the 3-pointer. So everything was basically going right for the Brooklyn Nets in the first half, and then in the second half, it's a tale of two halves. They just I don't know what happened. They can't sustain a 4-quarter pace, it seems, right now.
And the Nets, they can they can almost survive a mediocre performance mediocre performance from Durant in the first game, because Kyrie Irving was incredible in that first game. I mean, he put on a show. The dude was amazing. He's not doing it tonight. 10 points. So big time. You know, if he was going to have a disappointing game tonight, you needed Kevin Durant to drop 30 to 40 points in this game to try to get you to the finish line, get you what you needed to split in the first two games, get back to Brooklyn with that split. But, hey, a lot of people doubted the Celtics going into this series. They're too young. The tandem of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, not enough to compete with the tandem of Durant and Irving. But one thing that's really come through here in these first two games, the Nets cannot play defense. They can't stop anybody. And what was a worse problem than I expected, they can't get rebounds, man. I mean, the Celtics dominating the boards in this series, dominating defensively. Just look at the numbers between Durant and Irving in this game. And you get what many people is a really surprising result here. 90 seconds left in the game, and the Celtics up by 10 points. I'll keep you up to date on that, Trent. You're talking about the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah. I'm so into this NBA playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I know I changed this up, but I was just so shocked when I saw that, because I'm kind of keeping an eye on that and the Yankee games. Yankees lead 5-3 late in the, I know you're happy about that. Late in their game with the Detroit Tigers right now, but
it's too early to get up in arms about the standings. It's just baseball is such a long season. Talk to me when you get to Memorial Day around June, then we can start talking standings. But,
you gotta look at your team. What are you doing well right now? What are you not doing well? What are you not doing well that you're sure is going to improve, right? Guys are going to live up to the back of their baseball cards eventually by the end of the season. Pathetic performance if you're going to lose 3 out of 4 against the Oakland Athletics. If you're the Tampa Bay Rays, and maybe even more so, but definitely just as pathetic, losing 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. If you're the Yankees, especially in the fashion that you lost it. You scored 6 runs in 3 games against the Baltimore Orioles. You had an 11-inning game where you scored 1 run, and you had 2 innings with the ghost runner, and you couldn't get it done. So and you could sit here and you could go crazy on Chapman for walking in the runner there in the 11th inning to give the Orioles that walk-off win. But you know what? Yankees had 11 innings to score more than 1 run. Chapman's been terrible so far here and there. That's another story. You start to worry, well, look at how bad Cole has been. Yankees don't have an ace. Well, maybe the Yankees don't have a closer. Maybe the Yankees don't have a closer, because my goodness, Chapman's been awful at the beginning of the season as well. Other than that, Yankees are getting great pitching. You're seeing Severino, even though none of these pitchers can get out of the 5th inning. How are the Yankees going to have any bullpen by the end of the year? Right now, they have one of the best bullpen ERAs, one of the best pitching staff ERAs, which is shocking when the guy who's supposed to be your ace can't get out of the 2nd inning and your closer can't throw a strike. And the Yankees still have one of the top ERAs in baseball right now. It hasn't been pitching that's been necessarily the issue with the Yankees. The first game against the Detroit Tigers, that series over the week, that was a great example of what's wrong with this Yankee team. Yes, they win that game. They win 4-2. 2 of those runs were scored early on an error by the catcher because he can't catch a pop fly on the infield. You score 2 runs that way. But the Yankees strike out 13 times in this game. It's an extremely boring game. Yankees are having – Judge strikes out 3 times in that game. The Yankees are having extreme problems here early in the season offensively. So not a lot of guys – 2 guys really that have gotten the job done when you're looking at an Aaron Hicks, who has a high on-base percentage. He's actually getting some hits. And DJ LeMahieu, those 2 guys have actually had a decent open to the season. Everybody else has been absolutely awful. This team just can't score runs right now. But as you said, it's early in the season, and they're pretty much on pace with everybody else in the division. And I said it in the last show, Trent. It's just so many things to remind you of last year if you're a Yankee fan right now. It's like nothing's changed with this team.
Well, and it's kind of the same thing with the Rays. I mean, the Rays are not playing as crisp baseball as they did at the beginning of the season when they played the Baltimore Orioles. Now, that's comparing kind of apples to oranges, if you know what I mean, because Baltimore last year lost 110 games. Tampa Bay went 18-1 against the Orioles. That's well documented on this show. But the Rays have a tendency to, if they're better than a team, they have a tendency to kind of play down to their competition and let the other team kind of walk over them. And that's what they did with the Oakland Athletics, who are expected to lose 100 games this year. The White Sox are a little bit better of a team, and they didn't have Lucas Giolito, and they don't have A.J. Pollock right now, but they still have some great guys in that lineup. They still have Jose Abreu. They still have, and they have a manager, and Tony La Russa, that came back to manage, but and you can't forget about their closer, Liam Hendricks. That White Sox bullpen, for the most part, was locked in over that series. Tampa lost the first two games of that series. Friday night was a close game. Saturday, was a close game as well. They were both 3-2 games, and then on Sunday, the Rays kind of ran away with it, scoring almost 10 runs to beat the White Sox, and it looks like they've kind of started to have a little bit better week, though. They're playing the Chicago Cubs this week. Monday they lost that game. It was a close one. They were doubled up 4-2, and then on Tuesday they ended up winning the game in extra innings after nearly blowing a big lead. Tampa got off to a huge lead early on in Tuesday night's game. But they ended up winning it 6-5, and same thing with Wednesday. Wednesday, of course, we're recording this tonight. At last check, the Rays and the Cubs were in the bottom of the sixth, delayed. They actually moved the start time up to 6:40 instead of 7:40 Eastern time, so that would have been 5:40 in the Central time zone instead of 6:40 in the Central, because of the bad weather that was expected to kind of go through Chicago. And so they have played 5 full innings, so it would count as a regulation game if they are unable to get the game back underway. I haven't checked it here in the last few minutes, so we don't know. But anyway, it looks like the Rays are going to take 2 out of 3 from Chicago. And Neil Solondz of the Rays radio postgame show said it best. He said, if you ultimately win series, you're not going to win every game, but if you start taking 2 out of 3 from people on a consistent basis, you're going to be fine. And that's true. I mean, people talk about, trying to win every game in baseball. You're not going to do that. But if you focus on the bigger picture and winning series, you're going to be okay. And that's one other thing that I'm going to talk about. The other thing I'm going to kind of end with, the Rays have to stop shooting themselves in the foot. They've been running into outs on the bases. When they've had, rallies, they haven't been able to score more than 1 run at a time, it seems like. Perfect example. On Monday night, they ended up tying the game at 2, and they had runners on first and third, and they were only able to get 1 run out of it. Well, sometimes you're lucky if you're the Rays offense to get 1 run, because offensively they struggle in situations like that, with this year being no exception. But I think when you have runners on first and third, and when you have a pitcher on the ropes, you have to take advantage, and you have to score as many runs as possible, because you don't know when you're going to get that chance again. So my criticisms for the Rays would be score more runs when you have the opportunity, when the bases are loaded, or when you have runners on base. Stop leaving chicken on the bone, and stop making dumb base running mistakes as well. And you're not seeing the same effort defensively from Kevin Kiermaier as you normally would. Of course, Kevin Kiermaier's never really been all that great offensively, but you're really kind of not seeing that effort that you're used to seeing, and it's unfortunate. In terms of effort, Brett Phillips is showing more effort than Kevin Kiermaier is. Brett Phillips, he's not that talented. Yes, he can play some defense, but he's not as great as Kiermaier. Kiermaier is a lot better center fielder than Phillips would be, but Phillips shows that effort every day, and you're starting to see that kind of lackluster effort kind of performances from Kiermaier, and Kiermaier has been with the Rays for several years. So that's just the Rays in a nutshell. They got to stop shooting themselves in the foot. They got to score more when they have the opportunity, and if they keep winning series, they're going to be fine.
There you go. That's the baseball. Yeah, I mean, all of these teams are in that same boat early in the season. If the Yankees get this game tonight, they'll win another series. So far, they did lose a series against Baltimore, which is terrible, but you opened the season taking 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. splitting with the Blue Jays, which shows how it's just a microcosm here early in the season how that hurts you, losing to Baltimore, because you come out of that. You basically survive the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, right? Two of the elite teams in the division. You come out of that, you're 4-3, and you got a chance. As I said last week, you get fat on Baltimore. Let's say you sweep Baltimore. Now you're 7-3. And it just didn't go that way. Instead, you lose 2 out of 3, which is just whoa. And you're 5-5. It's a big difference. 7-3 and 5-5 there early. That's sole possession of first place, feeling good about yourself, taking care of lesser competition, doing what you're supposed to do. But instead, as it is, you come out here, you face another team that's a pretty bad team in Detroit, and it looks like they're taking care of business there. They'll get this series, and then you got the Cleveland Guardians, who have also had a kind of up and down start to their season over the weekend. So, hey, what you can say about the Yankees is, if you want it to be positive, is they're pretty much keeping pace with everybody else in the division right now. But sometimes you have the eye test, and you look at your team, and you've seen what's gone on here the last couple of years, and when you feel like nothing's changed, you feel like, well, last couple of years they weren't good enough. Has anything changed? Because if it hasn't, if my assessment, the eye test, that nothing has changed is true, well, they weren't good enough last year. They weren't good enough the year before that. What makes you think they're going to be good enough to do anything this year? So, but that's why they play the games, and that's why there are 162 games. We're just getting started here.
Well, let me tell you, man, real quick. I just have to let you know that the two updates. After blowing a 17-point lead, the Brooklyn Nets did lose to the Boston Celtics, so we got a crucial Game 3 Saturday night. That should be an interesting game in the NBA playoffs. Boy, that series the trajectory has definitely shifted. There's no doubt about that. In terms of the Rays, it's official. They did take 2 out of 3 from the Chicago Cubs because they called the game because of that inclement weather. So they were able to get a full 5 innings in. The Rays did win that game pretty handily. And so they got the Boston Red Sox coming in, which, by the way, Rich, I'm going to my first Rays game of the season this Sunday. I'm actually headed out to Tropicana Field to watch the Rays play the Red Sox. Thanks to Rays Radio, they got me some tickets. So I'm going to take, I think, my mom and a couple of other people, a couple of other friends of hers want to go to the game too. So we're all going to have a good time and go to dinner afterwards. And so it'll be a ball. So looking forward to going to Tampa and watching it happen.
All right. Have a good time. Enjoy being at the ballpark. Not many things better than that. I love it. I think it's the best. Anything else in sports, Trent?
That's really it, man. It's kind of baseball's in full swing. I can't wait to talk more about the NBA playoffs next week. And that's the sports.